Welcome to the Underthought.
Welcome to the Underthought. My name's Christian,
My name is Germán.
and we have an extremely exciting segment/episode for you guys today. But first, I want to thank Audible for making this podcast possible. Audible has over 180,000 titles, and it's the best place to listen to audiobooks. No questions asked. I know we firmly believe that leaders are always readers.
Always readers.
You can never have too much knowledge, too much information, constantly be expanding yourself, learning new information, and the best way to do that is reading. So we want to go ahead and give you a free offer for a free audiobook. Go to audibletrial.com/theunderthought, and you can go ahead and get a free 30-day trial, and that comes with a free audiobook. So, very interesting episode.
It sure is. Most malls are just losing their business to online stores, and so you have to stay relevant with a new ideal and a new perspective.
Definitely. And I think that was a really interesting point too, is it's not just the Oviedo Mall, it's malls around all of America. Things are changing rapidly with Amazon, internet business, convenience, a service-based economy rather than a goods-based economy. There's so much changing. So
Right.
what do you say we jump to the segment?
Let's do it.
This is the Oviedo Mall. Germán and I got the special opportunity to meet with the management team and meet the charismatic leader behind the vision for the future of the entire Oviedo Mall.
Kevin Hypes.
All right. And where are we today, Kevin?
And we're at the Oviedo Mall.
And what's your position at the Oviedo Mall?
I'm the general manager of the Oviedo Mall.
So when did the Oviedo Mall first open?
Okay, well, the mall was actually developed by a development company called Rouse. They were mall developers back in the 80s and 90s. And they built this mall in 1998. And it was, there's a story behind this actually, because the mall, they were in competition with the fellas from Simon, big mall developer. Simon was trying to develop this mall on the south side where Waterford Lakes is. And of course, Rouse wanted to develop it here. And in a way, Rouse won the battle but lost the war. Because the department stores went with Rouse and they built the mall here. So they got their Dillard's, and I think at the time it was Gaffer's actually, which got taken over by Macy's. And Waterford Lakes, Simon then developed Waterford Lakes, which ended up being one of the first open air centers, which was a very successful concept. And that thing turned into a home run, and the mall became kind of a mediocre location because at that point it became a tweener. And that's the main problem with this mall initially. It's only 15, 20 minutes down to Waterford Lakes, and it's only about 20 minutes up to the Sanford Mall area. So Oviedo, because you've got the lake to the north here and to the east, you got a lot of environmentally protected areas. There's a limited amount of population within 5 miles of here. So the mall has become really not a regional mall site, although they hoped it would be, but it didn't. So that was the main problem, one of the problems of the mall when it built, and why it kind of went up and then kind of back down.
Right. So it's a geographical problem, it seems like, because of the...
That's one of the issues.
One of the issues.
Geographics, the density. There's only about 160,000 people in 5 miles. There's getting more now because there's a lot of growth going on in the Oviedo area. But back then it was a lot less. And you're close to that big lake to the north.
Now, quick question. When you say back then, what year are we speaking about?
Back then would be when it was built, in 1998.
1998.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, back then it was a lot less dense than most regional malls are supposed to be.
And you use the word tweener. Is that like an industry term meaning quite literally non-regional, but...
Well, I shouldn't say non-regional as much as a tweener is. You're in between two bigger retail areas. Waterford Lakes is a huge retail area, probably a couple of million square feet of retail plus all the restaurants, and so is up near I-4 and 46, which is where the mall in Sanford, the Seminole Town Center Mall is. That's a big regional area, and there's a couple of million square feet of retail in and around that mall. And in Oviedo, we're a little bit too close to both. For a regional mall, not for a good, solid community shopping center or a good, solid regional shopping center, but for a regional mall, 1 million square feet, we ended up being a little too close to both. And the reason why that's important is because many big stores, your big box stores, if they put one in Waterford and they put one in Sanford, If they put one in between, it nicks the sales on those two.
Right.
So they have to hesitate. Many retailers have put one in between, but many of them would not do that. Of course, now as the economy grows, and not so much the economy, but as the population grows, and Oviedo becomes denser and denser, that problem gets solved. But of course, in this day and age, the big box guys really aren't expanding a lot anymore because of the internet. So they're not opening stores left and right like they did in the last 20 years. Now they're looking at their stores and saying, I think we need to close stores because the internet is taking away so many sales. So timing-wise, we got hurt by a lot of that.
Right.
And that's definitely something we want to touch on. We have, obviously, as you saw, probably saw a specific question based on that. So what would you say in 98 when the mall opened, what was the goal then versus now?
Okay, well, the goal then, of course, was to establish another regional mall on the outer perimeter of Orlando to serve the growing populations. That's how all the malls got developed. They would go out to the suburbs. They'd build big, beautiful malls, enclosed, air-conditioned, and it would enable people from the suburbs to not have to drive too far to get all of their everyday shopping. And that included department stores, that included restaurants, that included all the various apparel stores. And at that point, we were that initially, although we still were not a super regional, and we were still a little bit too close to Waterford Lakes. Things are different now. These small malls today are all going to have problems. Many of them are already having problems. As a matter of fact, over time, even the big malls will have problems, mainly because of Amazon, the internet. Internet sales severely hurt malls. Malls were known as places that people came, spent a couple of hours, shopped all the stores, bought their stuff, and went home. Now, I would say you can almost do 80% of your shopping on the internet. So there's no reason to go to a mall and spend a half a day there. Now people will come to the mall and go into the one store they want to see something, buy it, maybe stop for a bite, and then leave. So now the purpose of this mall is different. This is now needs to be a mixed-use center and a more community-oriented mall, which serves the needs of the immediate community. The good news is for this particular mall is that this is an amazing community. The median incomes in this area are close to $100,000 annually. The growth is just unbelievable. There's restaurants. All the restaurant sales up in Oviedo probably do about 25% more than most other markets. So you've got a lot of disposable income. You've got a lot of folks who really want the services of a quality restaurant, quality retail. They want something to do. So we're converting the mall to become more of a mixed-use center. And now that would include the main components of a mixed-use center. It does include retail, but it's not 1 million square feet of retail. It's far less retail, but it's a lot more restaurants, entertainment, residential, hotel, offices. There's many things that can fall into a mixed-use project. Back in the day, adding something that wasn't retail to a mall was seen as kind of odd. Today, it's going to save all the old malls. Malls, what's great about malls is that it's good real estate. They're always, even a not so good mall is typically built or always built on a major intersection in an area that's dense with population. That was the criteria for a mall. That's not changed. It's just the way malls do business has to change. But the success can still be there, especially malls that are in good, solid, growing areas like this one.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think right now is driving the most traffic to the mall?
The anchor for this mall in the last 20 years, the anchors, of course, originally were the department stores. And malls typically would almost give away space or land to department stores, and they would build, and then you'd make your money on the shops in between. This mall was a little bit more unique in that we've got a 100,000 square foot, 22-screen Regal Theater on the second level of this mall. They occupy the entire second level. There's not that many theaters that big that occupy a second level of a mall. So the theater is really the main draw of the shopping center right now. I mean, the retail draws too, and then so some of the other tenants, certainly Dillard's, which does a very good job here, is very solid. What we've done over the last couple of years, let's say the last 4 or 5 years, is bring in different uses that complement the theater and serve the community, which is the key. For example, O2B Kids. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that is.
Yeah.
It's an amazing concept. 30,000 square foot children's entertainment, activity, and educational center. You walk in that places like Disney. I mean, this concept was so successful when he came here. The owner, great guy, he opened the store, and I said, "This is going to be a national concept." And it is now. He just got bought out by some Wall Street chain, and he's going national now, which is amazing. But what they do is they have a plan where you become a member, and they must have. There's probably 100 different programs that you and your parents and your kid can choose to be a participant in, and as long as you pay the membership fee, which is, I don't know, $75, $80, $85 a month, you can then participate and take a class in any one of those 100 activities. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean,
Wow.
So you could take karate, cheerleading, tumbling, rock climbing, drama. I mean, they got all sorts of stuff there. You can take them all for the membership fee.
And they provide the transportation from and to.
Well, they don't for that per se, but what they do is part of their thing is after-school care.
Okay.
They have a licensed preschool, which is great, and they also have after-school care. That's their main body of people, and they do have their own buses, and they will actually go to the high schools and junior highs, whatever. I think it's kind of like a 1 to 14 age bracket that they serve, and they will go to the schools and pick the kids up. So
No way.
instead of the kids sitting in a study hall until 6 till mom gets off of work or something like that.
Right.
They go pick them up and bring them to their place, and the kids are there till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And mom gets there, the kid don't want to leave.
No way. And that was started here in Oviedo?
No, it was a 9-store chain out of Gainesville.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They were looking to get into Central Florida, into the Orlando area, and at the time, they were looking around. I approached them, and we talked about the mall, and of course, a lot of people were concerned about going into the mall. And one of the biggest issues is I don't want to go back in that mall. It's way back there, can't be seen from the road. That is an issue. There's really no street front visibility for these retailers. And for retailers, visibility to a main road is very important. But after talking to him and after showing him, I did a big analysis and showed him how many school kids were in this area between public schools, private schools, religious schools. When he saw the amount of kids in this market and the median incomes, it was exactly what he needed. And he, believed in what I was doing, which was trying to turn the mall into more of a community-oriented regional center. So he jumped on board. We made him a very creative deal where initially his rent was low, but as he grew, the rent grew. Guy's at 100% capacity.
Beautiful.
He can't fit another
Wow.
kid. There's like thousands of members over there.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's very unique. It's probably that's now his flagship store, and it's the only one in a regional mall that I know of, anyway. And now he's opening them all over the place. There might be more, but I doubt it. So it's a pretty unique play. He's become an anchor to the mall, and what that was. And then we also brought in Zoo Health Club, which is a big fitness center, about 20,000 square feet. Same thing, that works with the community to have a fitness center in a mall. You see them in a lot of malls. So we went after that use because it made sense for the mall. So between those two, and then we have a Chamberlain supermarket also out there next to those three. Well, Bed Bath & Beyond was there originally. That was a big 55,000 square foot Bed Bath & Beyond anchor. They moved across the street when Linens and Things went out of business, which was their competitor. And it made sense because they're typically more of a strip box store. So they saw that opportunity, boom, they went over there. I don't know, the mall probably dropped the ball on keeping them. They probably should have offered them a discount, but they were probably chuckleheads at the
And that was before you were here.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
When did you take over?
I only took over about 6 months ago.
Beautiful.
What? Wow.
You heard it here first. The underthought.
But I've been a consultant for this mall for probably about 4 or 5 years. And
Okay.
I was a consultant for the previous owner. And then I became a consultant for the new owner. So even though I'm the general manager, I'm really a real estate broker.
Got it.
That's what I do for a living. I fix broken assets. I fix broken malls. And there's a lot of story that I'll get to. Anyway, so the mix outside there really works because you've got the O2B kids. So mom can drop the kids off and then come to the mall, eat lunch with her girlfriends, or maybe her and dad eat dinner, go to a movie, then come back and get the kids later. Or she can drop the kids off there, go next door, work out for an hour. And then if she gets done working out, she can go down to the health food supermarket and buy all the health food stuff, go get the kids and go home. That's what these malls have to be. They have to make sense for a busy person.
Correct.
Because they're doing a lot of their shopping online now. So the only reason to come here is if there's a different way of doing things, then you got to keep them here. That's what malls used to keep people here for a half a day. They don't anymore. So now serving the community has a whole different look to it. And the only way to keep them here is to have the services that they need, that they'll actually stay here. And then the mall will still, well, not only survive, it'll be very successful.
Right.
But that's going to take a little bit of time. I can give you a little bit of my history at the mall if you want.
Yeah.
Because I go back. 2012, the mall was purchased by a group out of L.A. Great guys, 4 brothers. And they interviewed the CBREs of the world and all those guys. And all those guys came in and, these guys dressed to the hilt. They're good friends of mine. They're not bad guys. But they've got their PowerPoint things and all the fancy schmancy maps and things about how amazing, that they can do to fix these things. And then I got a phone call at the 11th hour saying, why don't you go down there and meet these owners? They want to talk to, a couple of different guys. So I sat with the guy. And I said, listen, I'm a one-man show. I don't really, you hire me, you get me. I said, you hire those guys, all the executive VPs are going to put the sales pitch on you. And then as soon as you sign up, they're going to put some rookie on it. I was half joking. That doesn't always happen. They're good guys. But anyway, I said, I don't have a dog and pony. I said, I can just tell you. So he says to me, this is what the owner says to me. He goes, I have one question for you. He goes, if your mother owned this mall, and this was her nest egg, this is true. This is a true story. The guy that was buying the mall says, and this was her retirement, her nest egg, what's the first thing you would do? And I'm one of these guys that doesn't need a lot of time to think. And that's very dangerous. Stuff just comes out of my mouth all the time because I don't need to think about things. So I said, I know exactly what I do. He goes, really? What would that be? I said, you see that billboard sign across the street in front of Lowe's? I would rent that sign, and I would take the logo of every national chain in this mall. I put it on that sign. I would use it as a pylon. I said, because nobody knows who's in here. And he goes, looked at the property manager. Brian, go rent that sign. You're hired.
Oh, wow.
And I know exactly what sign you're talking about, too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The yellow
We see
one.
it.
It's yellow, right?
Yeah, well, it's in front of Lowe's. It's
With all the
electronic.
yeah.
It's got a lot of flips. It's electronic.
Right.
It's very expensive these days because now they flip them every 8 seconds, and they got about 1 million people on there. So,
Is it bleep? Or blip?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
But it changes every 8 seconds to a different
Right.
ad because they make a lot more money that way.
Right.
But to me, that's a little difficult because when you drive by, you may or may not see my ad because it takes a minute or so to
Sure.
to
Go
full
through
round.
go through the cycle.
But my thought was the key was at that time that nobody knows who's back here. And that's still the case today. For the most part, people just don't know who's in this mall because it's set way back off the road, and that's always been a difficult thing for this mall. But anyway, so I came on board as a consultant, and the first thing I did was fill the Bed Bath & Beyond, which was a vacant box, and put in Zoo and O2B Kids, and then I brought in the Oishi Steakhouse, which is the Japanese steakhouse out in front, because we needed different entertainment, and then you needed restaurants to go along with that. And then we did a few other things. They had a mall team that was leasing the mall. I was doing more of the big boxes on the outside because my background is not necessarily mall retail. It's really development and power centers and stuff like that. I've done a lot of brokerage work for some of the bigger, boxes and stuff like that. Anyway, we had this thing moving along, and then Macy's announced they're closing. So I called the owner up, and he says, well, I said, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going to sell the mall. I said, what are you, crazy? I said, don't sell the mall. I said, buy the Macy's parcel. That's the best piece of dirt in this mall, and it is. In department stores, in malls, some department stores actually own their own building and their own parking lots. And a lot of people don't realize that. So when Macy's closed, Macy's owns about 13 and a half acres over there, and it's right on 417, best piece of property in the mall because it's got the visibility to 417, major highway, 50, 60,000 cars a day, and Dillard's owns their own too as well. And he said, no, this is our only property on the East Coast. We want out. So he sold it. So I said, you mind if I buy it? And he goes, have at it. So not me personally, because I ain't got that kind of money. But I did talk to Macy's, and I was able to get it under contract for a development friend of mine who I knew would do the right thing with that property. Very successful guy, very smart guy. And he said, So why would I want to empty department store in a dead mall? And that's the way he viewed it. And I said, let me tell you why. And I rattled off 5 or 6 things that I thought could happen over there. And he was like, you're very convincing. Put it under contract. And I did. And he did buy it, and he did close on it. And he's going to redevelop that. That's going to end up being between a $50 and $100 million mixed-use development over there. I can't say his name, and I can't say what he's going to do exactly because he yells at me all the time for talking too much about it. So,
Can we expect service-based businesses? Can you say that?
well, it's going to be a mixture of residential, hotel, and probably a few other things.
Very
Wow.
nice. That's exciting.
And that's what's necessary to fix this mall. Mixed use. You got to have residential. You got to have 24/7 people. Well, if they live right here and they can walk to the mall, a hotel is just needed at this intersection. It's a great intersection, so that's easy. The city very much wants a hotel. This mall is actually a great place for density and for redevelopment and for residential because it's got the infrastructure. It's at a major intersection. You can't get to any single-family homes from this mall. You got to go back out on Red Bug, drive around, and back in. This is where all of the dense residential really should be, but not just residential. Hotel, offices. Now, offices aren't ready yet, but I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years, a big office building will be needed in this community. This is where it ought to be because you've got hundreds of acres on a major intersection. You've already got infrastructure, you've got road structure, you've got signals. It's all here. And this is where it needs to be. It won't impact the local residents really at all. Most of the trips that are going to be generated from all of this activity, and that's traffic trips that they count, are going to stay on site. It's people who are going to drive in. They're going to go to 417 and go to work in Orlando, a 30-minute drive, or up to Lake Mary along an international drive where there's 30,000 jobs, 20 minutes that way, 30 minutes that way. And they're going to come back and they're going to park and they're going to shop, go to the movies, eat dinner, go to entertainment. I mean, drop their kids. It's all right on site. And that's what communities like. They like when people live, work, and play on site because that stops a lot of that bumper-to-bumper traffic at night when you've got to go home. So this is where the residential really ought to be. And I think that the city is wise enough to see that. And is beginning to warm up to that. Initially, this area has gotten a lot of residential growth, and a lot of the people I live here, and a lot of us that live here got a little concerned about too much residential growth and too much traffic is a big concern. But most of that problem is going east on Mitchell Hammock, where the real dense residentials are. Not here.
Like Oviedo in the Park and everything like that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place over there, but it is a lot of traffic to get in and out. I know. I live on the other side over in Sanctuary, so I got to drive through that traffic every night to get home.
Yeah, that's like the worst road in Oviedo, like Lockwood and Mitchell Hammock. That whole area, you're better off having a helicopter or something. The car just doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're working on it, though.
Yeah.
So there was an article entitled "The Fall of the Mall and How to Make Them Rise Again" from Forbes, and it says that culture is the crux of the challenge of the biggest crux and challenge rather, and the biggest opportunity for malls. And you had mentioned that this is done by staying locally relevant. You had mentioned being a culture center, and that's exactly what the article stated. What specifically, obviously we have O2B Kids, you had mentioned the gym. What else are you guys doing to stay locally relevant? Well,
for example, the theater. We have a 22-screen theater, but you know what? There's no luxury seats in this theater. So their sales have come down a little bit because people are driving up to Amstar or someplace else because they like those luxury seats. I know, I like them too. But the theater is very aware of that. And we've met with the theater folks, and they are going to extend their lease by many, many years, and they're going to spend millions of dollars upgrading this mall because they know that they are this community's theater, and they don't want people driving to Amstar. They want the people staying here, so they see the value in that, and that's what tells me. That's one of the things that tells me how valuable this real estate is and how good this particular location is, because this theater is not going to pick up and leave. This theater is going to invest money into this thing, extend their lease. They're going to bring in their equivalent of IMAX screens. They're probably going to, I don't know what they're going to do upstairs, but they may create one of those bar restaurant things that they do all these places.
Right.
They're spending millions of dollars to upgrade it. So that's part of becoming part of putting your ear to the ground and listening to what the community wants. The theater chain's doing that, and they will upgrade. It's going to take a year or two with some wonderful big screens, and they're going to bring in one of these things that you can sit in with a small screen, and the seat moves, and just so people can see what's coming. So it's because
like as a test screen.
Yeah, like a simulation
gotcha.
kind of thing,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a simulation
Wow.
thing, and they want us to have it because it is going to take a little time before they sign. When they sign, but they still have to put the construction in the pipeline, and that's going to take time, maybe a year and a half, and they want the people to know what's coming, so they're going to give us one of these things to put in the food court, and people will try it out left and right, so they know what's coming. So it's so that is a big part of it. Another thing is we signed a lease. What I've done with a lot of the vacant bays here is I've brought in, it's not just me, it's been done before me too, but I was a little bit more focused on unique uses as I brought in, because it's going to take a year or two before the apartments and all that kind of stuff, residential and hotels and things start to happen. So in the meantime, I don't want the mall to be empty, so we started to bring in a lot of almost like pop-ups, only it's inline bays, very low rent, 1-year leases, to try these folks out. A lot of them are very interesting and very smart, entrepreneurial local people, and they're opening interesting stores. And then I can try them out over the next 2 years. And if one really takes off, well, that guy will get a long-term lease when the mall turns around.
Any examples?
NeoWare. Are you guys familiar with NeoWare?
NeoWare. I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, well, now you have. You've
No,
heard it
yeah,
here
now we
first.
You heard it here first.
You're going to hear a lot of firsts here. So, NeoWare is a kind of a technology / co-working. And of course, you've heard of co-working.
Sure.
Co-working's big time. WeWorks and all those guys is big. Well, NeoWare is a very unique group of young guys who are really techie guys. They specialize in AR, augmented reality, and things like that. But they also do co-working. They're almost like a business incubator / co-working space. Very unique, different than a WeWorks. A WeWorks goes downtown, rents or buys a huge building, charges top dollar rents. You got to pay for your parking, and it's almost a typical shirt and tie kind of place. But they do have some unique ways of operating. But NeoWare's angle is they come to suburban areas, like the malls. They occupy not downtown, but 30 minutes outside of downtown, because there's a lot of folks that work in their homes who, quite frankly, it's very hard for some people to be motivated to work in a home office.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, me, I'm motivated everywhere. But there's a lot of people who aren't that way. And when you go to a NeoWare, and I've got the first one here, there's like a buzz that happens when you get 30 or 40 entrepreneurial techie kids together in the same room. And I got to tell you, new ideas come out of that. Interesting stuff happens. So they're not only renting them space, but they're also providing other services. For example, there's a guy in there who rents a desk who's a patent attorney. So when these young kids come up with these amazing apps and amazing ideas, so that their ideas don't get stolen, they just walk over to the patent attorney guy. They pay him a fee, and he does all the paperwork to put a patent on their item. So it's things like that. They have another desk that they're going to be renting to an accountant. Well, once this kid wants to start a business, he needs to talk to an accountant.
Wow.
So in addition to that, I've got a lot of these local entrepreneurial tenants who I've put in place. Well, a lot of these folks are, again, very smart, very capable, but they don't really understand merchandising or marketing very well. A lot of my older, more existing tenants who were used to developing or used to making all their money off of walk-by traffic never really learned how to do business online. They were expecting people to walk by and shop like in a typical mall. That's not the case anymore. So these young techie kids are not only creating activity inside their space, they're meeting with and making transactions with all of my smaller tenants, building them web pages, building them apps, showing them how to market, showing them how to use social media to get people in the store. So, I mean, they're helping my tenants as well as occupying a space. Now, right now, they've got 5,000 square feet. They've probably got 30 or 40 desks rented in there to various people. And they've already impacted 5 or 10 of my tenants in a very positive way. So they're now getting some investment money put into them, and we signed a lease to expand them across from where they are now into about a 18,000 square foot bay. That's going to have an outside access because a place like that needs 24/7 activity.
Right. So right now they're kind of limited to the mall hours.
Right
Okay.
now. Mall hours, and we did extend mall hours a little bit on the west side, east side of the mall, because that's where our entertainment is. So these guys have been a great addition to the mall because, first of all, just the guys that are in that space. They're walking, the mall, they're eating in the food court, and they liked it because it was free parking. They could throw a rock and hit the food court and have 7 or 8 different types of food. We have a craft beer brewery place, another few feet away, a Japanese steakhouse here. We have an entertainment complex. This is before the turnaround. We've got all this stuff already. We have daycare at O2B Kids, for anybody who's got kids. So for co-working, this is almost like a little Google campus. It really is. And those type folks, that young age group, they look at this stuff and they say, wow, I'd rather be at a mall rather than be in some office building downtown.
Right.
So they have a very interesting niche, and I've become their broker. So I'm going to be putting them in malls, small malls like this across the country, because it's uses like that that are going to turn these small malls around.
Right.
And it'll be the community people who have home offices all around that area who'll be renting these desks and contributing to the turnaround of their local mall. So it really is a win-win.
Right. Yeah. So how has the strategy changed from before of bringing people in? So not only having businesses that are going to attract people in, but how are you marketing to people outside of the mall?
Well, as a mall, and until the mall really gets turned around, we still have to have very aggressive marketing campaigns. As a matter of fact, even more so until the mall turns around. So we have Shelley, who came in only a few months ago, and she's very good. She came from Simon, and we're constantly doing events and doing things that will bring people inside the mall. We're a lot more diverse now as a mall, so it's not just come in for a discount and leave. Very often we're able to keep them here for most of the day because we have, the owner of this mall actually spent over $2 million building an entertainment facility at the Macy's end of the mall, because entertainment is a big piece of turning around old malls.
What is that facility?
It's called District Eat and Play, and it's got a sports bar, huge sports bar, full menu. It's got escape rooms. It's got a million games and pool tables. There's always events and things going on there, dueling pianos, whatever.
Oh, wow.
And they've just put in this new thing. It's a virtual reality thing, which is just amazing.
Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it because I'm not a techie. I don't know about all that stuff, but I know it's very popular. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And that place has become so popular that we actually keep the east wing of the mall open now at night, because the theater's open till midnight. So we have to keep the food court area open so people can come and go. So now we only close off the west wing, which is the typical retail wing down by Barnes & Noble and Dillard's and all that. We close that at 9. We keep the rest of it open until the theater's done.
Oh, wow.
So we're creating an entertainment wing, basically, between District and some of the newer uses I put in there. That's where the co-working is, so that becomes a 24/7 kind of place.
Wow.
And you can go to the food. You could go to District at 10 o'clock at night. On the weekends, still probably almost 1 in the morning, and you can still walk the mall and go to the food court and grab a bite at midnight if you want.
So the restaurants are now open later too?
Now, I've told the mall, the food court tenants, that they can stay open as late as they want. I'm not going to make them stay open.
But they
I don't
can.
close
They
them.
have that choice.
They used to close at mall hours, 9 o'clock. And the minute I took over, that was the first thing I changed.
That was one of, I got to be honest, that was one of my, because I'm from Oviedo as well. That was one of my biggest complaints ever about the Oviedo Mall, was how early everything closes.
I know. And
As a young individual especially, it's like, oh my gosh, and that's really good.
Well, you have to understand
really
that,
good.
that malls typically were built, managed, and run by mall people, and they had a very mall mentality. Tunnel vision kind of. And when I got here, I'm not a mall guy. I'm not a mall manager. I'm a broker. I'm an entrepreneur. So the minute plus I also own a restaurant in the food court, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Which one?
The Muya Burgers, Fries, and Shakes.
No way.
I do like
He was
Muya.
just
I was
telling
just
me
telling about it. I
Yeah.
used to order Muya on Postmates like every day.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We're the only Muya in the area. There's more that are opening. One's opening on I Drive, one on Orange Ave. We're going to open a few more. I have 2 partners, 2 techies. And they came to me and said, we want to open a restaurant. I said, you're out of your mind. It's like 1 million hours a day. And then I said, I'll do it with you, because they're friends of mine. We have a lot of
Burgers are good.
Yeah.
They're real good.
The burgers are fantastic.
They really are. I'm not just saying that because he's here.
No, they really
No.
are.
He was actually telling me about that
Yeah.
before.
The thing is
Without
that
knowing.
Muya's not really a food court use. It's more of a fast casual, kind of like a Five Guys or a BurgerFi. So people in the food court are used to getting food in 2 minutes. And of course, to cook a burger from scratch, built to order, is 5 or 6 minutes. Now, the people who've tasted it realize it's worth the wait. And we only did the food court deal because when I sold the Macy's, I knew what was happening here. So, of course, before anybody knew what was going on at the Macy's, I cut a deal with the owner of this mall for a long-term lease for Muya at a pretty good rent. And that's how I met the mall owner, who was first a little mad at me for selling the Macy's to somebody else because he wanted to buy it. Yeah. And then after he got over that, he said, I want you to be the mall manager. And I was like, why would you want me for a mall manager? I'm a broker. I said, I'm not a manager. He was smart. He's a very smart guy. He said, I'm not looking for a manager. I'm looking for an ambassador, somebody who can speak positive about this place.
Wow.
And I said, well, that I can do.
That you are doing.
Yeah, right now
Well,
as we speak.
And now I have a dog in this fight. I own a store in the mall.
Yeah.
So when I talk to the tenants, I have a lot more credibility because I said, listen, this mall's going to turn around to you. It's going to be a home run. I guarantee it. Well, I shouldn't say I guarantee it. But I said, listen, I put a couple of $100,000 into a store in that food court. I said, so I have a dog in this fight. I'm no idiot. I would have not have spent that money if I didn't know this place was turning around. That has a lot more credibility than a mall manager who just says, okay, here's our quarterly meeting, okay, and what's the gripes and all of that. And I also spoke to them and told them what I thought of some of the things that were happening in the mall, things that I didn't like. And things I needed their help on. For example, get a web page. Start making money out. Don't wait for people to walk by your store. Nobody makes money that way anymore. Get yourself a web page. Understand technology, social media, and you'll get people. Sell it online. Let them come to the store and pick it up. That's how you get them in the mall. So, and a lot of the more traditional retailers didn't really understand that stuff, and I think they're all coming around to that. So it's all good.
Right.
It's all good. So. So typical malls are your typical retail in a mall is gonna get smaller and less, and a lot of the big national chains are going out of business. So you can't bank on big national names anymore. But we'll be replacing them with quality boutique type stores. More locally owned, regional people who have interesting stores. We want those guys in, like the Neo guys. Now they're not retail, but there's others who are retailers who will come here, who will bring in a more unique touch. And we've got some very unique tenants here. I just signed a lease about 2 months ago with a guy called, what's the name of his store? It's Planet Auction. I think this was great. This guy's got a TV station. He bought a complete TV channel from, I think it was from Roku or something. So he's got a channel for 24 hours of access to about 100 and some odd million people across the globe.
And he has a studio here?
Yeah, he built a studio in the back of his store, and he does auctions online. Not online, actually. It's you can get them online, but it's a TV show. You've seen, two in
It's
the
like
morning.
QVC, basically.
Right.
Exactly.
Modern QVC.
Yeah, and if you at night you put on, you can go get them right now. You'll probably see commercials of my Muya burgers. Because part of the deal was I get free advertising.
There you go. I like it.
Nice.
Now, not just me, the whole mall. The deal I made with him was that we get free commercials. Now, of course, we discount. We sell them to the tenants in groups very economically because, we certainly are in business to make a little bit of money. But we want the tenants to have the exposure of a national TV channel, even though we're not a national mall. But at the end of the day, we have another guy called Gizmo who's got a sound studio, like a recording studio that he built in the back of his space, and he produces TV ads, and he writes jingles too. It's a great guy.
No way.
So he's providing free production for all of my tenants. So my tenants can go to him and get a free commercial made for free, and then they come over to me and they pay me pennies for a month to get it played on Planet Auction TV station for free.
No
Wow.
way. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's a good package.
Yeah, I've heard of Gizmo through the Oviedo Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great guy, Mike, wonderful guy, and and this all kind of started to happen kind of on its own, but the next thing I want is a live radio show. I'm going to put a DJ in the middle of the food court in a glass booth,
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Manhattan, when you can look in and see the what is it called, Good Morning America. That's kind of what I want in the food court, and have a DJ guy running a radio show where you can just come and just get a cup of coffee in the morning and just watch the guy.
There you go.
So I haven't gotten
Very
that one.
cool.
I haven't gotten that one yet, but this is the kind of unique stuff that you gotta
Right.
do. You gotta
Sure.
keep it creative, keep it unique, and I've got a year or two to tinker until the real stuff goes up.
Right.
And I want to touch on that too, because you had mentioned, obviously you didn't mean to say guarantee, that's not what I'm referring to, but you had said that in 2 years it's going to be a home run. So what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your vision for the mall altogether? Where do you see it heading on like the macro?
Listen, right now, mall is a dirty word. Think about it. Anytime you say mall, oh, wait a minute, that's probably empty and dark, with really high overhead. But you know what? Done right, mall can be a very positive thing, because think about it. I've got all this entertainment going on down here, and I'm beginning to open more and more entertainment-related uses coming away from district towards the food court. Listen, that's going to become my entertainment street. I mean, I'm thinking, listen, you can go to Disney Springs all you want and walk around in 95-degree heat, or you can come to the mall and do it in air conditioning. So I think this mall has an amazing future. We do got to get density. And this community is such a great community that eventually it'll get more uses. Like I said, eventually there'll be a 4 or 5 story office building on this property someplace. Well, now you've got not just people living here, but now you got people working here 24/7 who could maybe walk into the mall and get a bite to eat, lunch, dinner, a movie after a meeting, or those team activities, over in the district or something like that. I mean, all of that stuff can happen on site. Eventually, this will be a one-stop work, eat, play. That's what it's going to be. And we have the ability to become dense because we have the infrastructure. We're on a major highway. We don't create traffic. So in the next 10 years, it'll end up being just more of what's going to be coming. But I said office, it'll take a few years for office to really be, I think, needed in this market. But it's not too far down the road.
Real quick, what would the logistics look like to have a direct exit off of the 417 into the Macy's parking lot? Have you guys considered that before?
Yes, we have. And that was one of the ideas that I thought made sense. And the fellow who bought the Macy's felt the same way. And I think he's looking into that. It's very possible. It's very doable. It's just a matter of, is it necessary? It's not cheap to come off a ramp and build a ramp into a complex. So it has to be economically feasible in terms of the cost. I know the analysis is being done. Personally, I don't think we need it. Because hotels, you've gone to hotels. As long as you could be seen from the major highway, it's the MapQuest that gets you to that hotel. And very often, it's some crazy zigzag road. You can see the thing, but you don't know how to get there.
Not wrong. The big pole sign, Best Western, whatever.
Yeah.
On the side of I-75.
But as long as they've got visibility, well, the hotel here will have not only a pole sign, but it'll have a full building right on that road. Great visibility. So it's nice if somebody can get off and go right in, but it's really not necessary. And for the mall, I think it'd be great to have traffic coming off, but it's only feasible to have traffic coming from the north to south to come off in. To make another loop to go the other way doesn't make sense because Red Bug's right here. From the south, you're still going to have to get off on Red Bug and come in. And quite frankly, listen, if there's going to be residential there, they may not want that ramp there.
Right.
So it's all a matter of need. It can be done, but it all becomes economics. Doesn't make economic sense. And in this case, we don't own that property. The fellow who bought it does, and he's doing all that analysis, and he's very good at what he does. So if it's something needed, he'll get it done. If it's not, he won't. But I don't think it won't hurt this mall to have it or not have it. We've got a great intersection at Red Bug. Everybody knows how to get back here. The current issue is that nobody knows what's in the mall, but that's because we don't have that critical mass of activity going on yet, that mixed use thing going on. It's the same thing it's the same as retail. Back in the day, retail was all about critical mass. You couldn't just have one freestanding store. You had to have 5 or 10 anchors. Once you got the 5 or 10 anchors and you had a power center, you had critical mass. Then you didn't have to be seen from the road anymore. When you get critical mass, people are going to find you. You become a destination. So once we get more critical mass here, we will become the destination that this mall should have always been and was never. It never had that critical mass feel to it. It had 2 department stores early on. It was always a small mall. It finally got a Sears, but it still never had the impact of a big mall. There's no real big center court like you see in other malls, you know. And this mall is a green mall. It's got skylights everywhere. I mean, this mall years ago used to have vines growing up the sides. You guys probably
Yeah, I remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
This was like the first green mall ever built 20 years ago when Rouse built it. So it's a kind of very cool architecture to it.
Right.
And that's adding to the, I think, to the interesting, to making it an interesting turnaround project, because it doesn't look like an old mall. It looks like a very modern mall, more modern than most malls. And all of that structure and the metal and the glass. I mean, I had kids in here when I first took over. I had a guy approach me who wanted to fly, what are those things called?
Drones?
Drones, yeah. He was like, oh, we'd like to use this for like a drone run. I said, let's do it. I'm open to anything. So midnight, we had kids flying in from all around the world. Special, professional drone pilot kids. These are all kids like 18, 20, but they're pros. These kids flew in, and we had them here from about 11 at night till about 1 in the morning flying drones. And it was a riot.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Like a race?
They were just zipping up and down the mall.
No way.
They were going
That's
in and
insane.
out through all those metal beams and stuff. They even have a picture of me, and I should get it for you guys, with the drones buzzing me. And they're like, because these kids were just amazing. I had one that went out into the food court and went up to the second level and then flew through and down, and the manager of the theater came down. And she was like, "What are you doing?" She thought I was one of the kids.
Sure.
She's like, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "I'm sorry. I thought you guys were closed by now." "No, we're still open. I just had a drone buzz one of my customers up there." I was like,
Oh.
so I told the kids, "Don't go up to the theater. I told you not to do that." But they're kids, you know how it is. But they had a
Right.
blast. We had a blast. And I have footage on it.
That's awesome.
And I was going to create a commercial where the drone went to each store, turned around, looked at the sign, kept going, looked at the sign, got to Victoria's Secret, looked at the sign, came back, looked again. So anyway, that was a lot of fun when those guys came here. So we do very interesting, creative, different kinds of things, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So I know I'm kind of getting off target here.
No,
No, you're fine.
That was awesome. Yeah. And
Thank you.
yeah, what's something that you want to leave listeners with? People that are wishing to come to the Oviedo Mall.
This needs to be the mall that the community loves and supports. And that's not going to happen unless they come here and spend time. Now, I realize that we don't have everything they want today, but someday we will. And we'd really appreciate it if they came and supported this mall now while we're turning, give us their ideas, eat in our restaurants, play at District Play, go to our brewery. We have first-class things here that folks can participate with and in, and come and eat a hamburger. That'd be nice, you know. So we want folks to really support this mall, and a lot of folks do. There are, of course, there's always the naysayers out there who thinks the mall's dead and it's never going to turn around. And listen, there's some people who think that. I don't. I live in this community. I've lived here 5, 6, 7 years. I've been in Central Florida for almost 30 years. I'm a New York guy. This mall is going to be a home run. It's just a matter of time. So I want them to come and support the retailers and the restaurants that are here now, so that they have a chance to build their businesses over the next 2 years until we bring in all those mixed uses and then it turns around. So that's what I want them to know.